earmarks, debt ceiling, voted for Medicare Part D, we should also
supported
mention.
Specter over Toomey, and Toomey was almost the first prototype of a tea bag. Tea Party.
Thank you. Thank you. Even though we're after hours.
Right. But look, but here is what Iowa does, right? So I agree with you. I think he's a blip. I don't think that this was really sort of a Santorum choice or something. And I think the one thing I disagree with is the idea that there's not this libertarian resurgence, because the fact is there basically was a three-way here, right? There's Santorum, Romney, and Paul. Mm-hmm. And although Iowa doesn't necessarily pick winners, it does often tell us what the agenda will be in terms of the issues going forward. And so I look at those three and I see the libertarian strain, the kind of small government strain that we saw as part of the initial impetus of the Tea Party. I see this very traditional evangelical Christian strain that kept trying to find its place and ended up on Santorum. And then there's the kind of orderly Republican establishment. And so it seems to me that that is what will be fought out. It may not be these personalities. Now, the one great thing about the Santorum birth control stance, of course, because there's really only one kind of sexual contact that almost never leads to reproduction.
That does not require birth control.
And that is same-sex contact.
Yeah.
And so there should be a kind of obvious support for the rights of gay and lesbian individuals who, after all, will not need to use birth control.
I'm just getting in my ear from my executive producer,
to stop saying that?
No. He was saying he would like you to describe in graphic detail
what that is.
No. What we're saying is that the AP is saying a announcement is imminent on who actually is going to come out on top in this thing. But Ramesh, I want you to respond to this, because I do think here's my theory. My theory is that. To the degree to which Santorum, and I said this about Gingrich when Gingrich was sort of leading the pack, to the degree that Gingrich was going to be, or Santorum becomes the Tea Party standard bearer, it makes it much harder to take seriously this notion that this is about essentially small government, limited government, deficits particularly. I mean, Rick Santorum is a Bush conservative. He was there for that entire 8 years when we were massively expanding the deficit, right? He was there for Medicare Part D, which I always harp on, and Paul Ryan, of course, deciding vote in the House of Representatives, which was an unfunded new entitlement out into the future forever, projected forward. How can if Rick Santorum does become the standard bearer, what does that say about the genuineness of the Tea Party as a conviction politics as opposed to just a backlash against Barack Obama?
Well, I think it says, I guess, two things. One is, as you suggest in the Tea Party, maybe not as pure an anti-government group as some people have been led to believe. And second, that they're not as powerful inside the Republican Party as we've been led to believe. I've been hearing for 2 years now that Mitt Romney cannot be the Republican nominee because the Tea Party can't stand him.
Right.
And right now, I'd say
you would put your money on Mitt Romney.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the problem with Santorum, though, to return to this blip question, he's got to do two things. He's got to raise money like he's never raised it before.
His website, by the way, was down when I went to it tonight, which is not good for raising money on the.
And he's got to convert that money into organization in a lot of states, and he's got to do both of those things very, very rapidly.
The one candidate who does have the organization, who can go deep in this, who can keep raising money, aside from Mitt Romney, is, of course, Ron Paul. We do have with us Anthony Terrell. Is that right, Anthony? Are you there at the Paul, in Iowa with the Paul campaign?
I am, Chris. I'm still here.
Anthony, look at you. You're the last guy in the room. There's literally.
I'm holding down the fort, Chris.
Literally, there is no one in that shot. I guess there's a few in the back. Anthony, thanks for sticking with us.
Hey, thanks, Chris. I appreciate it.
It's great to see you, man. So my understanding is I think there was a real sense that Paul could win this. And my sense, and tell me if you think this is right, if Paul had won, or he had been tied for first in the way that Santorum and Romney seemed to be, it would have been impossible for the media to ignore Ron Paul coming out of Iowa. It seems to me with the third place finish, that is not the case, that all of that attention is going to go to Rick Santorum, and Ron Paul is going to be relegated to the margins and sidelines, as he has been for essentially most of the last 7 years that he's been running.
Right. Well, look, what the senior campaign advisors telling me afterwards, that's exactly what they want. they say Santorum just got on the scene, and his record really hasn't been examined.
Yeah.
So Rand Paul the past couple of days has been attacking Rick Santorum, calling him a big government conservative, pointing to his support of doubling the size of the Department of Education with No Child Left Behind, as well as pointing to his support of Medicare Part D, increasing in entitlement. So Rand Paul's been on that offense this week, and the campaign's hoping that now that Rick Santorum is in the spotlight, this media attention will draw attention to some of his big government conservative past.
Quickly, Anthony, I was talking with Rachel when I was on earlier tonight about the fact that Paul just has the money and organization to stay in this till Tampa and be a real problem in certain senses for whoever the front runner of the nominee is, particularly if it's Romney. Is that your sense of where the campaign is headed?
Right. Well, the campaign tells me they've raised over $6 million so far this quarter, and so they think they can go to the distance. You know, they have offices in at least 12 states. They think they can go the distance where Rick Santorum can't. And one of the Iowa co-chair told me tonight they came into this race wanting it to be a Mitt Romney and a Ron Paul race, and they believe that's what they got after this evening.
NBC News' Anthony Terrell, who is following the Ron Paul campaign. Thanks for joining us, and happy birthday.
Hey, thank you, Chris. I appreciate it.
Talk to you soon. All right, with 99% of the vote in, Santorum is now at 29,944 votes. Mitt Romney at 29,926 votes. Santorum leads by 18 votes. We'll be right back.
My husband, he thinks it's a 3-sheeter. I say 1-sheeter. Bounty can clean the mess with less.
In this lab demo, 1 sheet of Bounty leaves this surface as clean as 2 sheets of the Bargain brand. Dance cooking? Bring it. Super durable, super absorbent, super clean. Bounty, the 1-sheet clean picker-upper. And try Bounty napkins.
Morning, people. What's on the agenda? Deb?
At 7, you'll arrive at my toll booth with no change.
Not even under the seat?
Nope.
Great. Mark?
I'm calling in sick, so you have to handle my all-day client meeting.
Excellent. Jennifer?
At 11, I'll call crying because you haven't updated your relationship status.
After just one date.
Yeah.
Carl?
After lunch, a box of nails will fall out of my truck, blowing 2 of your tires.
Nearest gas station?
3 miles.
Good thing I got my orange juice.
And me. You have me.
Take on the day with the natural goodness of 100% pure Florida orange juice.
Got a cold? Not sure what to take? Click on the Robitussin Relief Finder. Click on your symptoms. Get your right relief. Makes the cold aisle easy. Robitussin. Relief made simple.
How can power consumption in China impact wool exports from New Zealand, textile production in Spain, and the use of medical technology in the U.S.? At T. Rowe Price, we understand the connections of a complex global economy. It's just one reason over 75% of our mutual funds beat their 10-year Lipper average. T. Rowe Price. Invest with confidence. Request a prospectus or summary prospectus with investment information, risks, fees, and expenses to read and consider carefully before investing.
With Expedia Rewards, I now earn points however I travel. Any hotel.
Here's your hot towel, sir.
And any airline, too. Rewards any way I travel. Except naked. What a shame. Expedia.com.
Believe it or not, this is a catheter. It's the new SpeedyCath Compact for women. Now available from Liberator Medical with full Medicare and private insurance reimbursement. Stay tuned for an exciting free offer. But first, meet Julie.
You know when you leave the house and you say, okay, I have my phone, I have my keys, I have my wallet, I'm good to go? Now I always have to think of a catheter because I can't go without it. SpeedyCath came into my life and it is life-changing. They're tiny and thin and you can fit them in your back pocket. You can fit them anywhere you need them. This is a lipstick or lip gloss and this is the size of it. With this, you're only touching the outer plastic and you're never actually in contact with the catheter itself. You just really have to give a sample. That's all it needs is one sample and everyone's going to want them.
Now, here's that free offer I promised. Call Liberator Medical. Get your free SpeedyCath Compact sample 6-pack. Shipping is free.
1-800-370-7544. 1-800-370-7544.
All right, a fun fact about Mitt Romney's performance in the great state of Iowa and its caucuses. In the year 2008, Mitt Romney's total was 29,949. This year it is 29,926, which means Romney is 23 votes behind his 2008 total, which is kind of remarkable considering he is now the front runner, no question. He has the best organization. He's also, let's not forget, been running for president nonstop for 4 straight years. And this gets to the problem. The people who make the anti-Mitt case that he's not inevitable, he's not obviously going to be the nominee, basically make the case that he just has a very low ceiling of support among Republicans. Sam, what do you think about that?
I think the real story is just how weak Romney is going to be in the general election. I mean, he spent millions of dollars and lost 4 votes.
Well, it should be known, though, he spent considerably less money this time around in Iowa.
But it's not like that money wasn't spent in the first place.
Right.
I mean, he's spending this money on top of money he's already spent. I mean, theoretically, why is he losing support at this point? How is he any less Mitt than he was 4 years ago?
And among a much weaker field. I mean, you actually had plausible alternatives last time around.
And Huckabee won last time with a much bigger. I think he won around with about 40%. No one got near that this time around, Ramesh.
But it's also, it's a different field and it's a different strategy. Last time around, Romney was banking everything on Iowa. This time, he is positioned in a very different place. Last time, remember, he was running from the right of the Republican field. This time, he's running from the center. So Iowa was never going to be as important to him this time around as last time.
But
so compared to how McCain did last time in Iowa, he's doing tremendously.
Right, McCain came in 4th last time in Iowa. But do you think it represents the fact that he has a ceiling problem?
Well, look, I think there's no question that Romney has not closed the deal with Republicans, but he does quite well in those questions about, okay, if you're not supporting him, who is your number 2 choice? People too easily assume that 75% of the voters in the Republican Party are against Romney.
Right.
They're not. They prefer other people to him.
Right, but look, the thing is, what this field tells us is that when high-quality, likely GOP candidates looked at running against President Obama, they decided not to. And they decided to wait until the next round. So what we end up with is the guy who came in second next time, kind of trying to take his turn at a bunch of other weak folks. This is, more than anything else, a victory for someone who ought to be a weak incumbent given the unemployment, but who is, in fact, extraordinarily strong relative to this field.
We're going to talk more about the field, including the most passive-aggressive political speech I've ever seen, after this break.
When the financial system and the banks blew up at the end of the Bush presidency, that left our country in the worst economic hole we have been in since the Great Depression. Unemployment, businesses failing, the poverty numbers. Well, one silver lining, actually, in the poverty numbers is older Americans. Older Americans, relatively speaking, are doing okay, even in these hard times. And that's because of Social Security, which is not a Ponzi scheme. It is not bankrupting us. It is not an outrage. It is working.
I've been waiting for so long, now I finally found someone to stand by me. We saw the writing on the wall as we felt this magical fantasy. Listen, baby, I've had the time of my
Sandals. More quality inclusions than any other resorts on the planet. Book now, save up to 65%. Call 1-800-SANDALS.
Because I was in good physical condition, I couldn't conceive this as a heart attack. But when they finished the procedure, the doctor leaned over and said to me, "You just beat the Widowmaker." I was put on an aspirin, and it's part of my regimen now.
Aspirin is not appropriate for everyone, so be sure to talk to your doctor before you begin an aspirin regimen.
Go see your doctor now. You can change your future by making sure you do all the right things to take care of your heart.
Learn more about protecting your heart at IamProHeart.com.
On my journey across America, I've learned that when you ask someone in Texas if they want big savings on car insurance, it's a bit like asking if they want a big hat. Excuse me. Or a big steak. Or big hair. I think we have our answer.
If I could separate what's real from what I've been dreaming, I could live to fight another day.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Feeling like a shadow of your former self?
Michael, get the game.
Don't have the hops for hoops with your buddies? Lost your appetite for romance? And your mood is on its way down? You might not just be getting older. You might have a treatable condition called low testosterone or low T. Millions of men 45